What's up? So today I am really excited to talk about one of my favorite video games of all time, and that is Pokemon. As a child, Pokemon Silver was the first ever video game that I actually owned, and since then I still love it to this very day. But there's a lot of things in Pokemon that just don't make sense. Like, so much so that it kind of hurts my brain, but it's such a great series that we're often able to look past some of these things. But with leaks and reveals for Pokemon Sword and Shield coming out very soon, there has been a bit of a re-emergence of the idea on just how ridiculous Pokemon is. And more specifically, the notion that Pokemon typings literally make no sense whatsoever. And so today we're gonna look at 10 of these Pokemon typings that truly make no sense at all. Now, before we do get into it, I really want to cover more Pokemon videos, and if you guys want to see more from me, I do genuinely need your support. So if you could watch all the way through in this video, as well as leave a like, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe, that would be incredible, just to help this video get out there and all that stuff. Anyways though, let's get into it. So I guess you could consider this first Pokemon as the number 11 spot, as it sort of serves as the inspiration for this list. So in Generation 7, there were region-exclusive Pokemon released called Alolan forms. Basically, they just took old nostalgic Pokemon that we love and gave them a new form. And the same thing is happening in Generation 8, this time being Galarian form Pokemon. And one of the first and most notable that we've seen is Galarian Ponyta. Now, when I saw this beautiful and majestic beast, I was very excited, as one, I love Ponyta, and two, oh my god, that looks incredible. And I mean, it's just so cool to see a fairy type Ponyta, except wait, it's not fairy type. Yeah, Galarian Ponyta is psychic. Just psychic. Now, on the surface,
He looks calm and ready.
this doesn't make any sense at all and had a lot of people confused. I mean, it really does look quite fairy, but there is actually a reason for this, and that's why I'm putting it in at 11 and not like technically in our top 10. Galarian Ponyta is a unicorn, and in mythology and even things like up-to-date, Harry Potter, the blood of unicorns is able to basically heal poison and toxin. In Harry Potter, drinking unicorn blood makes you immortal. So to make Galarian Ponyta fairy, which is weak to poison, wouldn't make any sense. It's a bit of a weak argument, and I still think Galarian Ponyta should be fairy, but at least there's some explanation. But you know what I have no explanation for? And coming in at number 10 is Galarian Weezing, or as we should all truly be calling him, Fancy Boy Weezing. So while Galarian Ponyta looks fairy and isn't, Galarian Weezing doesn't look fairy and is. I just don't understand how this ridiculous steam stack monocle looking dude is a fairy. I mean, poison, obviously, but fairy? Now, it is a bit of an interesting typing, I'll give it that, but I don't understand this contradiction. It's one thing to make Galarian Ponyta not a fairy. I get that. But to then make Weezing a fairy, it's beyond my comprehension. And it really shows you that even after 8 generations, Game Freak truly hasn't learned. But if we really want to understand the ridiculous nature of typings, we got to go back to the source, all the way back to the start of Gen 1. And coming in at our number 9 spot, we got to look at Charizard. So Charizard is a Char lizard. I mean, I guess, but I don't know any lizards that have wings, or long snouts, or giant claws and big long burning tails, or ones that breathe fire. Now, you know what that really sounds like to me? A dragon. Yet for some reason, Charizard is not a dragon. And I mean, really, this is one of the age-old arguments of ridiculous typing, is that Charizard is fire flying and not a dragon instead. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't make sense, as clearly Charizard does have the ability to fly and he can learn flying moves, not maybe in Generation 1, but besides that, it does make sense. But I mean, you've got Lance the Dragon Master who uses this non-dragon Pokemon. To me, it's a clear contradiction. And really, I think the only explanation as to why Charizard wasn't a dragon is in Gen 1, they wanted to keep dragons mystical and very rare, so they only wanted to have the Dragonair family being them. Regardless though, it never made sense to me. But if we're gonna talk about Pokemon that aren't dragons and should be dragons, the number 1 spot really has got to go to Gyarados, which is actually coming in at our number 8 spot on this list. So Gyarados is a water flying type. The reason for this is actually based on an old myth of the carp jumping over the Dragon's Gate. I don't really care. The thing with Gyarados is I don't think he has to be a dragon type for it to make sense. Gyarados could easily have just been a straight water type, and I think we would all be fine with that. But when they decided to make Gyarados flying, which was probably more for weakness purposes, being, super weak to electricity, it really just screwed everything up. Because Gyarados learns no flying moves. And what's worse than that is in every single generation, Gyarados learns at least one dragon type move. So Gyarados, the flying type Pokemon, can't learn any flying moves, yet he looks like a dragon, learns dragon moves, and isn't dragon type. I mean, don't get me wrong, especially before the introduction of Fairy, if Gyarados was water dragon, he would have been the most overpowered thing ever. It's just still pretty frustrating. Now, moving on to number 7, if we're gonna continue talking about flying Pokemon, we gotta really talk about every single bird in Pokemon's existence. So every single generation has your classic normal flying type. For you Gen 1ers, you've got Pidgey, Sparrow, Doduo. In Gen 2, you've got Hoothoot. In Gen 3, you've got Tailo. And you can take it all the way through to Gen 7 with Pikipek. The format stays the same. My problem with this is that these are all bird Pokemon, right? They're flying types. Yet they're all also normal types. It just doesn't really make a lot of sense as to why they're normal types. I think the reason being for that is that they're not constantly flying. So, sometimes they're on the ground doing normal stuff, sometimes they're flying. But it always really bothered me, especially when you consider that they lose the resistance to fighting type. It's just a weird one that never really made sense to me. Now moving on to number 6, we've got Psyduck and Golduck. 2 Pokemon that to this day continue to confuse me. So the entirety of these Pokemon are basically based around the fact that they have psychic powers. I mean, the dex entry for Red says, while lulling its enemies with its vacant look, this wily Pokemon will use psychokinetic powers. And on top of that, these Pokemon learn Confusion, Psybeam, and can be taught Psychic. Yet they're strictly water types. Can't tell you how many times I've tried to crunch a Golduck thinking it was going to be super effective to see that normal hit. But what always made this worse for me was the fact that Slowbro and Slowpoke are Psychic. I don't understand. In a way, they're kind of like the exact same Pokemon, like these really confused slow water types that also have psychic abilities, yet one is Psychic, and the one that really should be Psychic isn't. Now, moving on to number 5, one of our last Gen 1s we got on this list is going to be Jynx. Truly one of the most ridiculous Pokemon ever. So just imagine if I could wipe all your memories out there and you basically have never seen this Pokemon before and it's coming out in this new generation. You would have no idea what Jynx is. You would not be able to guess its type. I think some might guess Psychic, some might guess Fairy, and after that, all bets are off. But I guarantee you less than 1% of votes that came in would guess that this thing is Ice type. The only reason we think of Jynx as an Ice type Pokemon is because we are told it's an Ice type Pokemon. You would never guess in a million years that it's Ice. Jynx literally has the same chance of being a Fire type Pokemon as it does Ice. Come on, Jynx. It's ridiculous. Now moving on to our number 4 spot, we're jumping a few generations here and we're going straight to Lucario. Oh, Lucario. A fighting steel type, I truly believe that the typing alone is one of the reasons that this is such a famous Pokemon. But the typing doesn't make sense. The only thing Lucario has on his body for steel are 3 little tiny spikes. And for you smart people out there, you might want to say, well, Lucario is based off of the metal orichalcum. And that is correct, which is sometimes referred to as an ancient mythical substance, but in all honesty, it certainly isn't steel. It was an ancient yellow metal known to the Romans and Greek, not near as hard as even iron. So I think that almost only goes to further prove the fact that he should not be a steel type. I like the typing and I love Lucario, but it really just doesn't make sense. And you know what's another newer Pokemon that really bothered me when it came out is Lycanroc. So you've got Rockruff. It's a rock dog type thing, and that totally makes sense that that Pokemon is rock type. You've got midday form Lycanroc, and that's rock. I'm fine with that. But then when players heard rumors of a Moon exclusive that is this dark werewolf, people got excited. Kind of expecting that this thing was going to be dark rock. Not the greatest typing, but certainly appropriate. Yet for whatever reason, this dark creepy werewolf just decided to stay dark. Now moving on to number 2, I wanted to talk about one of my favorite Pokemon of all time, Gengar, the ghost poison type Pokemon. So without making any reference to its previous evolutions, I want you to try to make an argument as to why Gengar should be poison. So its pre-evolutions, Ghastly is a toxic ball of air. I'm fine with that. Makes sense. Gengar is more ghost than it is poison, but it does have a very poisonous tongue, so that's okay too. And then you get to Gengar, where there is zero mention of this thing being poisonous at all. One Pokedex entry says, under a full moon, this Pokemon likes to mimic the shadows of people and laugh at their fright. Another one says, hiding in people's shadows at night, it absorbs their heat. The chill it causes makes the victims shake. And if you go through them, every single one is some sort of reference to it hiding in shadows, being a shadow, or just being overall a shadow type Pokemon. Because it is literally called the Shadow Pokemon. There's not a single reference to this thing being poisonous, yet it's poisonous. Ghost, I get that, but Gengar should have at the very least been simply Ghost. Ghost Dark would be ridiculously overpowered, but also would make a lot of sense. I mean, if he was Ghost Dark, the only thing he would be weak to is Fairy, and he would be completely immune to normal fighting and psychic. So maybe we don't want to go that far, but come on. Just Ghost would have made a lot of sense. Even that might have been a little overpowered, but still. Now moving on to our number 7 spot, I wanted to take it all the way to Generation 7. One of the last legendaries we've seen, and it is Solgaleo. Now, Pokemon Sun and Moon was the first game that I bought at launch in a very long time. And I actually did really like it. Not my favorite series, but one of the things that really stood out to me were how cool Lunala and Solgaleo were. But the one thing that really threw me off when I finally caught this guy, Sun Gang, was it's Psychic Steel. Come again? Okay, so Solgaleo is meant to represent the sun. For those of you unaware, the sun is a gigantic flaming nuclear explosion in the sky. So isn't it at least a little bit odd that this guy isn't fire? I mean, part of the chemical process that goes on in the sun is iron, so I guess that's a bit of a stretch, but why wouldn't you just make it fire? But the thing that makes it even worse is not only is this guy not a fire type, because Solgaleo is steel, it's actually weak to fire. The Pokemon that is the Lord God and representation of the literal sun is weak to the sun. What? And that, in my opinion, is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in Pokemon history. And ladies and gentlemen, that is our list. If you guys watched it all the way through, you are some true legends. So thank you. Feel free to comment down below, Legend Gang, because you are one. And again, if you guys want to see more of this content as much as I want to make more of this content, please subscribe and leave a like, because it's really going to take your support to get this out there. Anyways, again, thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you later. Peace out, you freaking nerds. I'm excited for this one. I'm really excited for this one. I don't know why I waited so long to do a Pokemon video, because I love Pokemon videos.